Hello friends and family, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick, and in this video we are going to talk about how to implement custom quickie authentication in .NET 8 Blazor web app with auto render mode. I have already made a video on cookie authentication with interactive server and also interactive WebAssembly. And now we're going to combine these two render modes, and that is what we know as the auto. So how do you implement custom cookie authentication with this? Let's have a look in this video. Before we dive right into this, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also click on that bell to receive updates as soon as I upload new content. The source code of this project would be also available, so check the video description and you can have access to. I do offer coaching sessions to people who are interested in .NET technologies, talking about Blazor, WebAssembly, Server, Web API, Mari, Blazor Hybrid. I have an email in the video description. You can write to me through it. Only if you are interested. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to try to make it simple for you so that you can even remember offhand. Alright, so let's launch our Visual Studio 2022 or higher, and I'm going to create a new project. And this project is Blazor web app for .NET 8, and the name is Demo Custom Cookie Auth with Auto Render. Alright, so I'm going to click on Create to get this project created. So as usual, for the authentication type, you have the default one, and that is none. You want to choose the none one because you're going to create our own custom one. Now with the interactive render mode, we want to choose the auto. That is a combination of the two render modes, server and WebAssembly. Click on Create, and let's get this project created. So you can see that when the project gets created, we have two projects, as you can see from the Solution Explorer. We have the server and then we have the client. So authentication must happen within the server, and now the client must just subscribe to it. Very simple one. So all the dirty works are going to be done on the authentication of the server, and now the client just consume this. I hope this is clear. Okay, when you create these projects, and as soon as you want to add authentication, there are some third-party packages that we need to install. These packages are coming from the same Microsoft. Are they third-party? Well, let's get this project or these packages installed. So right click on this, but this is what I'm going to do. If you don't have these packages, they are references. You can just right click on dependencies, then go to manage NuGet packages and install this. But if you have them already, then there's no need. I'm going to unload this project. So right click on it, go to unload project, and at the same time applies to the client. I'm going to unload this client. Now they are unloaded. I'm going to add these package references here, and after that I'm going to reload this. So let's do it. So with the server project, we need these three packages. Here we're going to add the following packages. We need just identity.entity framework core. We need the SQL server now tools. Now with this, let's go to the client. All that we need here is just a package, and now the name here is WebAssembly.authentication. This is what we need. Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Component.WebAssembly.authentication. This is the package that we need. So now we have these four packages added. What we're going to do here is let's save all of them. Right click on each and then go to reload project with dependencies, and now do same to the other one. Oh, okay, they are even loaded. Yeah, so we have them. Now let's build Rebel solution. So it's going to restore these packages and I'll get them installed. As soon as it is done building, you can cross-check and see if these packages have been installed correctly. As expected, go to dependencies and now check for packages, and we have it in here. The same thing applies to the server, dependencies, packages. You got them. Do you have yours? Yes, so it's still building, right? Alright, so let's wait. Let's get this project built. Alright, so it is done. As you can see, it succeeded, and you have 2 projects, so they are built. Alright, so let's go on and work on the server, because that is the most of the things that are going to do is going to come from, okay, the server. You know, with default, since you're going to use Identity Manager, it has a default class or module known as Identity User. This Identity User has a lot of properties such as the email, username, phone number, and etc. But it does not have full name. In case you want to add some properties, an extra one, then we need to create an extension for it. So let's do that. In the server, I'm going to right click on it and then create a folder, and I'll maybe name it as, oh, not class anymore, it's class. Let's create a folder. I'm going to organize everything, and I'm going to say this authentication. Now with this authentication, I'm going to add, maybe I want to remove this. I want to add this here. So let's delete this. Let's rather create a folder and name it as data instead of authentication, because this folder is going to contain our AppDB context and an extension of the identity user class. So authentication won't be an appropriate name for that. Okay, let's add. Now here I'm going to say this is application user. Now with this application user, we're going to extend it. So we're going to have a default property. And now this default property, we can add an extra one. So let's say we're going to add full name to this. And now in here, we have to inherit from identity user. And this is coming from, let's see, the identity. That's an Microsoft.ASP Netcode identity. Okay, so we have one class. If you want to know the classes or the property that this class provides, you can just right click and then go to pick definition. In here, identity user, you can also pick this and now have a look. You can see it has phone number, password, email, username, ID, and etc. Okay, so all that you have in here, we like them. We want to add full name to it. That's what we want to do. Let's create our AppDB context class. So the AppDB context class, we can put it here. So create a class with this data, and now as AppDB context class. Okay, so since I have this, all that I need to do here is I have to change the namespace. Yeah, very simple. Now you can see from here that we create this class as an application DB context, and we pass in the DB option in here, which inherit from the identity DB context. We pass in the extended class that we created for the identity user. Okay, so we can use that. Let's save this and let's create a connection string in the app.setting.json. So in that, we can just create a simple connection string in there. And I'm going to use my server. It's going to be local. We can change yours to suit what you have. And the name I'm going to use here, it is Blazor app cookie auto DB. Very long, isn't it? Yes. Then have trusted connection set to true and trust server certificate to true. That is all. After that, you have to make sure you register the connection for this database. So how do you do it? Do you know how to do that? Go to the program.cs, and in that you can create a connection string and use the connection string in the configuration. So create connection string in here to the name. Now when adding the service to the AppDB context, you have to specify this connection string as you created in here to this. We are using an SQL server, and that's the package that we installed. Very simple. Now that we are done, we need to add cookie authentication. So in that, we can put it beneath in here, cookie authentication. So we add the service as authentication, then we add the cookie itself. Okay. Aside from which, we're going to be using role manager, not role manager for now. We're going to be using user manager and now sign-in manager. So in that, we need to include the service for this and also the token provider. Since we're going to generate our own a default token using this token provider for the cookie, we need to add this. Make sure you add this, you save them. That is all. That is very simple, isn't it? Now, when we are done, let's build this project. We're going to apply migration. So build solution. Succeeded. Yeah, that is one because you're working on the current project as server. So that is the only project that needs to be built, and we have it in here. Succeeded. That's fine. Now we go in there and apply migration. So click on Package Manager Console. If you are not finding yours, please go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager. You see this one? Click on that. You're going to have the same as I'm having. Now add migration, and the name I'm going to give here is first. You can add your name. This is dynamic, so you can choose to change the first here. But for add migration, must be the same. Take note. After this has finished creating the file, we're going to apply. So how do you apply it? By using updates database. It's going to transfer this into an actual file. Yes. There's a code. It's going to transfer it into a file that we can see as a database. Yes, so we succeeded, and you're going to run this to create the various columns and tables. Oh, that's fine. It is done. So when you check our views, SQL Server Object Explorer, and what is the name here? After tends to tell us the name. Okay, so the name of our connection string here is what? Blazor app cookie DB. So when you check, open the databases folder, Blazor app cookie DB, and that is this one. So we have it. If I open this, we have all the tables that has been created by the EF core, and we have it in here. Check it out. It's still loading, right? Have you found yours? It's also still loading. You can see we have it here, ESP row claims, and we have all. But what we're interested here, it is the user. This one. Right click and go to view data, and let's see whether you have the tables created. We have the custom property that we specified as full name column created to this table as well. Let's have a look. I can just close this. Okay, yes, so we have it full name. You know, we have an ID, full name, username, normal username, email, phone number, and etc. Okay, this is a password too. Yes. All right, so we can just close all this, but for now we can maintain this. So once we have this, all that I need to do again is we need to create a class to mobilize a property that you want to send to the client. You know, we want to package it nicely. So let's have a class known as user session, whatever. Give it a name of your choice. Okay. Now this, we can put this in the client. So here too, let's create a folder and I'll name it as this. Authentication is okay for this. And now with this, I'm going to say a class known as user session. Now with this user session, I'm going to have maybe a property. I want to just return only the full name and the email. So this is going to be string. And I'm going to say this is full name. And I'm going to have email. So in case you have a lot of properties that you want to transfer from the server to the client and display it in the UIs, put them here. For now, 2 is okay. Is that okay? Yes. Okay, so let's save this one. Let's get back to the server. We're going to create a class here, and this class is going to persist at authentication state. Now, there are 2 classes that we need to create, and these classes are essential in authentication or cookie authentication in Blazor app auto render mode. One class is going to be found in the server, and another one is going to be found in the client. The server class has to inherit from revalidating server authentication state provider, while the client class has to inherit from auth provider. Why? The server side prepares the authentication state of the user and now sends it to the client. When it gets to the client, it is the work of the other class to receive these claims or these authentication states and now utilize it in the various components. That's very simple. Short explanation for this. Is this clear? So let's get this going. Now we need to create this. So in here, we need to still create a class folder for this. What do you think? Authentication will also be better for this. So let's add a folder for this one. And I knew this. So authentication. And now with this, we need to create a class to handle this. And now with this, I'm going to say that this is persist auth provider. Give it any name of your choice, okay? And now this has to inherit from revalidating server authentication state. Okay, so I learned you have some abstract class that we need to implement. We need to specify the time span that should call this all the time, and then the inbit method that has a validate authentication state async. How do you implement this? What we are interested in most here, it is the let me close this one so you can see it well. Yes, so we can just clear this one. We have a default one set in here. Now let's have a look. We have this service code factory that we create. We have a persistent component state. So this state, it is responsible for transferring the authentication state or the properties from the server to the client. So here we can attach to inbit method, that is a try copy as JSON and also persist as JSON. So we can retrieve the component or the state. We can also set the state. Now we set the state in the server and I retrieve it in the client. So this persist component state is going to be used in the server and the same time at where? That's fine. Perfect. Client. Let's go. So we have in here, and this must be, let's see, a constructor for this. Okay. And now we initialize what we have created. In that, we have this a method that we need to create. We have to register. Since we have the subscription, we have to subscribe to this. So we do it in here. We need to create a method for unpersistent async. And at the render mode that we need to use here, it is interactive WebAssembly because that is what we are using it for. Okay. Now this, the revalidation interval, we set 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes, it's going to check. So you know that the user manager is responsible for getting us the user details. As soon as user registers or creates an account, all the details have been saved to the user manager. The user manager can give us the access to the database table that we created, that's the ASP.NET users, whereby you can have the ID, the username, the password, and etc. So you have to get a required service from this. So when the page loads, we want to get a required service in here. As you can see, validate authentication state async. So in this, we want to find the user, and now we want to get a security stamp of this user. And now when it comes to the next one, we see we have this on authentication state change. So when this method is called, this is the authentication state task, and it is what we set up in here. We want to check the constructor here. It is the authentication state. Okay. And now I want to check the task that we are assigned to. It is what we came as a payload from this auth state. So when this page gets called, it's going to pass in the state of the user, and I will assign it to this. So this won't become null anymore. Alright, now when on persistent async, we want to populate the user details or properties and now set it to the component state. So here you want to grab the full name, you want to grab the email, and if in case they are not null, you see persist as JSON, we want to keep them as JSON format. We set the full name to the full name that we have in here, and the email to the email that we also have in there. Now, as soon as you have subscription, you must have a dispose method. So when disposing, you have to unsubscribe, and that is all. So that's what you need to do. Now, once you're done creating this, we have to save this and, what is Solution Explorer? You have to get it again. So Solution Explorer. Okay. Now we have to register this in the program.cs to the server. So let's quickly do that. So you can register it here by using builder.services.add. There is not. So persist state provider. And that is what I have to add it to the program. So let's go in there and update that. So here, persist, this is a class, and control period, we need to include the namespace of this. Yes, and that is it. Okay. Now there's also one thing that we shouldn't forget, builder.services. Add cascading authentication state. That's responsible for checking the state of the user. So once you have done adding all this, we need to also sign out. Now, when using Context Identity Manager, we have to sign out. And under sign out, we need to create a minimal API for that. When you check the previous videos, we have to create that endpoint to sign out. Okay. So let's quickly do that. And this must happen in the server. So while we have this authentication, I'm going to add another class to this. So I'm going to say this is sign out endpoint builder. Give it any name of your choice. Okay. So sign out it's supposed to be endpoint, not endpoint. Okay, so let's make this change. Now this point, we need to create this, so I can just grab this and I'll paste it here. Very simple one. Okay, so we have this endpoint conversion builder, and that's what we want to return. And map additional identity endpoint. So I'm going to say map sign up. Map sign out endpoint. Okay. Now we want to specify explicitly endpoint route builder. And now from this endpoint, we want to check if it is null through this. This exception is no, it won't be null, but you can skip this. Or, well, if you like it, you can maintain. You create an account group, and that is what account/logout. That is a route. Claim principal you pass in, and now from the signing manager, we can now sign out peacefully. Redirect to home page. So if you want to redirect to any page at all, pass it in here. Return account group after finishing all this. This must be an internal static class, so make sure you do not forget this. It's not public. Okay, so once we have this one, we can go to the program and register that. Now to register it, for we have this pipeline, so app dot. Do we have map sign up endpoint? And that is all. Let's create a simple layout. So when you go to the component folder, you can see we have layout, and in that we have nav menu. So we can have home, account, weather. We can copy this and paste it and paste it and paste it. Okay, so what I want to do here is, instead of this weather, we're gonna say this is login, and now with this login, you should go from account/login. The same thing applies to register, account/register. And now here we change this to register. Now when you come here, this is log out. Okay, and now with this log out, it is not going to be a button. This will be a form, and this form is going to submit to the endpoint that we created. So for this, I can change this a little bit, and I'll make it as form. It has an action to this account/logout, and the method here is post. Logout is the name. Okay, this is all that we need to do for now. Okay, now weather forecast is going to move to weather forecast, as you can see from here, and now we have this created and done. All right, so once you're done here, we have to create our login and our register component. That is the two properties. Two files left for the server to get completed. Now let's see. So I have this register file in here, and I'm going to group this. So this is an account, pages, and this is home. I can just create a page folder here and name it as account, or well, I can also add it in here. Let's say I add this register, okay? And now there's a register button, a register component that I have added. Let me change the name in here. So what is the name for this? This is demo custom cookie. So that is the name that I want to use. And now we have this application user. Okay. So now this is the one we need to do. For now, we are not adding identity row, so we don't need this. Later on, we have a video on how to include rules to it, or maybe you can also do it yourself. Trust you. Okay. So when you come here, you know, we have this edit form, and now this is the form name. We have method as post, because here we're not using any interactive. This is static, so we are not using anyone, and that's why we need to specify this method as post. Form name is available, and I'll create an account. Okay. So when you check here, there is a floating buttons, and now with these floating divs, I have a component or a package that we can use. So let's install this package. Maybe let's go to dependencies on the server, manage NuGet packages, and now in here, let's type in Netcode to make it simple. So Netcode-Hub, and we are looking for a package known as netcode-hub.packages.components.validations.onInput. So you want to validate this as soon as the user starts to type. You have model validation. That's why we need this package. So install this. Start. So let's go to the component in here. Let's add a namespace. So at using netcode-hub.packages.components.validations.onInput. Okay. Now, so when we come here, this, we can remove everything, this one. Can remove this one. Or we can even change this to, we want floating. So we have floating test. And now this floating test, we have this bind as name. Class is over here. We can remove all this. And we can specify our placeholder. So this placeholder, John Doe, is normal. Label, we don't need label anymore because it has been specified in it. Very simple one. When we come to the email, we can also use same. So floating test. And now it's email class over there. Autocomplete and everything must be ripped off. And now here, we can specify the type. So default, the type is test. If you don't specify the type, it is test. This is email, so specify the email in here. Remove this label. Then we have password, the same floating test, not number, floating test. Type is in here. The type is going to be as password. You see this? Yes, and we can go ahead and remove the autocomplete and this, and set this as placeholder as password, because even for password, we don't need placeholder for password. Okay, remove the label. And now the label, I think you can specify the label in here. Yes, so this is password. So user password, passing the label. And the next one, we have confirm password. So we can cut it from the label, remove this label. Now placeholder, we can set this as, okay, for password, placeholder, we don't need. We want to have it as label. Confirm password. And now with this, we can remove the rest. And this is just floating test, the same as this one. Okay, change this to test type, and now this is password. So that is it. Then we have our button as register. So this is a simple form using the component that I created. Floating test, and you have it in here. If you want to use another one without floating, just use the normal one. And now you can use test. So you can see we have this test, and it is coming from Netcode-Hub.packages.component. Okay, and that one is not going to be floating. Okay, so now we have this, and aside from this, when the button is clicked, we are submitting to the method in here, and I believe you know this. When it come here, we have in here supply what parameter from form. We have an input model, and that is an input model in here. We have the following properties, and these are the attributes that we want to specify on top. Okay, so we have name, and we have email, password, and confirm password. When a button is clicked, we create an instance of this application user. Full name is equal to this, username, email, and password. So this is going to encrypt the password. Now we have it in here. Then we create the user. After creating, maybe I can just inject nav manager. Then in here we can navigate to login. As soon as it's done, please do login. So .navigate to, and now here we say this is account /login. Okay, so this is going to create the user, and I'm going to log in. Let's go to the login user and also log the user in. Before we create the user or the login user or the login component, let's go to the persist state provider. And in here, we don't want to use a custom claim type. You want to use the default one. So you're going to assign the full name to the username. Okay, so we can display it, and we have an email in here. So let's edit it, and I'll get that. Okay, so aside from that, we go to the pages, and where you have this register, the pages, we're going to also add login. And now from this name, there's going to be demo, and I have to change the name. And we have sign manager, we have user manager, we have navigation manager. Okay, when it can, we have the same thing, so we're going to be using the same form. So from the user, this is what email. So all I need to do here is to go to the register. We can just grab the email in here. So let's grab this. Login, email, long one. We can just get rid of this, and I paste this. So this, you have to include Netcode-Hub.packages, the reference. You have to include this. Yes, and that is all. So this is set. This is also password, and we can just go to the register. Very simple one. Let's hold this. Login, password. You can grab the whole long one. Now replace this one. This is a very simple one, isn't it? So password, and that is all. Okay, we have a login button, and it's submitting to this form. So here we want to find the user from the user manager. If user is there, you want to check the password. If the password do match, you want to sign or password sign in. Navigate to the home page. There's the properties that you want to do it. Email and our password. This is very simple. You see this? Alright, so now let's save this. Now we need to create a class which is going to receive the authentication state from the server and also implement it or utilize it in its component. So let's create that class in here to the server. And in the authentication folder, I'm going to add a class to this. And I'm going to say maybe this is client or state provider. Now this class, it has inherited from this authentication state provider, which has a default abstraction that we need to make, and that is get state async. within this, we need to create a default state. And this state is set to anonymous. So when the page runs for the first time, user is not authenticated, you're going to have claim principal as what? New identity, which is going to be anonymous, and we call it a default and authenticated task. Okay, now when you want to have a property which also is going to be assigned, it's going to be assigned to the default. So when we call authentication task, we are calling this default one, which is anonymous. That's great. Okay, now you want to populate, or you want to accept the method, the incoming method. So with that, we can override this, we can clear this. And in here, this is coming in with persistent component state. Remember that this state here was set in the server, and now we are receiving or retrieving it in here. Okay, now this must be a method or a constructor that we need to create. And now in here, this should be user session. Remember that class that we created, it has the email and it has the full name. So if it is not, then return. If not, we want to try take from JSON, and this is an extension method from, well, it's a method from this component state. So state, which is the persistent component state. So you can hear we have persist at JSON that is setting, and now try take is what we're retrieving. Now we have to create our claims. So claims, you can specify our claim in here, but for now we don't want the ID. We want only name and our email. Okay, so this is our name, claim type as name. We have an email in here. We have a claim type as, this is not email, this is supposed to be full name. Then claim type as email, we have our email. So name is equal to name, that the username is equal to full name, and now we have what? The email is equal to the email. Aside from that, we need to call this client or state. Then we pass in the claim that we have populated in here, and that is all. Now the inbuilt method that we need to implement, that is the auth state, is now we have this authentication state or task. Authentication state task, yes. And where is this coming from? You know, this is what we have here, the what we created to store the result of these claims. We have to pass it on to this get authentication state, because this has to return authentication state. And now this is coming in with what? Authentication state. So we can assign it to it, and that is all. Once you're done with this, we have to register this in the program.cs file. That is talking about the client. You make sure you do not forget any of this. There are 3 namespaces or 3 services that you need to register: authorization call, cascading auth state, and now what we just added. And now let me just go in there, grab the name, go to your program, and I'll paste it in here. And that is what save it. Okay. Do you have anything left to be done? Let's see. Let's go to the nav menu, and then in here let's copy one of these, and maybe let's say this is auth page. Okay, so authentication. Now with this authentication, we want to check it go to this auth page. So let's create a component for this, and we can do that in the pages folder. Let's create one component, and now let's say this is auth page. The route here is going to be auth, and aside from that, we can just have this. This auto interactive auto, and now this is what authorized. You want user to be authorized before the user can access this one. In case a person is authorized, you want to display the name, that is the username. Let's save this. Yes, and now we have it in here. So this authorized view, we have to use the namespace, and now we're going to have the context from the specific user. Okay. Now when you go to this weather forecast, we have a weather forecast here. You can use it here, or we can move it down here anywhere. In case maybe you want to move it to the client, put it to the pages, this weather forecast, let's set attribute on top. And now with this attribute, this is authorized. So before you have access to this, you must be authorized. Okay. And now once you have this authorized attribute specified, we have to go to the nav menu. Now the nav menu from here, we have login, weather, and logout, isn't it? So maybe we can, for this, that is the weather, we want to have authorized. You must be authorized for this. Maybe we can just get rid of all this one and use it as namespace. So control period, use this one. So let's cut the closing tag. We make sure we surround it with this. Okay. And that is all. So if you're not authorized, you're not going to see weather. Login and register. That is when you are not logged in. So we can have the same. Okay. So maybe this is what we can do from here. We have the same thing. So let's see. From this authorized, let's say this is authorized. If you're authorized, see this. Okay, let's go in there, and now we have our logout. Let's add the logout. This is login, register. These are logout, so we can just cut this logout from here. And now let's go to, if you're authorized, see this weather. Aside from that, you can also log out. In case you are not, then you have not authorized. Then you want to open this. Then you want to move the login and now register to not authorized. You see this? Yes. So Control KD, we format it well. So if I go through it again, if you are authorized, you're going to see the weather forecast and at the logout. If you are not, then you're going to see login and register. Let's go to the route page in the server, and in here we have to include authorized route view. So maybe we can have a class, or let's have a component, and let's say this is redirect to login. And now in here we can inject nav manager. And now with this nav manager, we can also have override one page lifecycle known as uninitialized async. So when this page initializes, you want to move it to nav manager.navigate to, and now here where is account/login. That is all. Okay, so let's check from this main layout. So when you go to the server, from the layout or the route component that we created, in here, not authorized, then you want you to navigate to redirect to login. I believe everything is set. Do you have any leftover? Okay, let's build this project and see. So build solution. Now let's run this application and check it out. Oh, that is it. So it is ready. Right click on this. Maybe if we try to access weather, let's see. Okay, so it is saying the ambiguous exception, the request match multiple endpoint. Okay, weather, you have two weathers. Two weathers. Now let's go in there and now delete one weather. We have to stop this. We are implementing this weather in the client, so we have to move it from the server. So delete it from the server, so that you're not going to have two weathers anymore. You're going to have one weather, right? So let's see. Now let's try it again from here. Weather. And yeah, so we are logged in. You see, weather, we have been returned to login, and we have to log in. But first of all, let's create an account. And here we are not having label account. Let's see. So when you go to register, we have our input, full name, placeholder, no label. So specify this and this full name. We have this label, email address. Okay, fine. Maybe we need to reload. Okay, so let's register. Okay, yeah, we have it. Login. Okay, so you log in, so you have to add a full name, and I believe you can do that. So full name, you're gonna say this is Netcode. And email is admin@mail. Your password admin. Admin@123. That is the password. Now get it created. So yeah, this is it. Now click on continue to get it registered. As soon as you are registered, we are going to navigate to login. So let's see. So let's log in. And now with this, we're going to see we're going to be logged in. And yes, so we are in. Now you see we have logout. If I click on authentication, you can see now you have your authenticated hello admin, right? But when you check this, you want to grab the name, not the email. You see, if I right click on this and I inspect the cookie, you can see we have a cookie token in there from the application session. Sorry, cookie. And you can see we have the ASP.NET Core identity. This one. So maybe if you want to use actually display the name here as an email or as an username instead of displaying an email, then when creating the account, you know, when you go to register, we set username is equal to this, so you can just set this to input.name. Okay, now when you have this and you try to reload this, create an account, and now logged in, and after logging in, you're gonna see the full name as a username on the screen. Let's have a look. So let's create an account, register. And now this I'm gonna use Frederick. Then let's say we have user@mail.com, user@123, user@123. Click on register. Now we are in, so click on login, and now we are in. Click on authentication, and I have hello Frederick. Can you see this? Yes. Alright, so that is it. Thank you so much for watching this. Maybe let's try log out. Oh yeah, we are in, we are out. Okay, so that is it. Take care of yourself, and I'm going to catch you up again.